Good morning, everyone. How much would you pay for a dark-colored liquid filled with gas that doesn't quench thirst and is not good for health? Prima facie, the idea of this product looks ridiculous. However, by great storytelling, it has created two of the biggest and most powerful brands in the world today. You are all familiar with BlackBerry and smartphones. If I came to you 10 years ago and said, would you pay a premium if I converted the keyboard to a touch screen and made the whole thing look more delightful to feel and use? Prima facie, your rational mind would say, this is ridiculous. The current product looks, feels, and performs perfectly well, isn't it? Why would I pay so much more for something that does just the same? Ideas that change the world, when they are first propounded, seem irrational, very often vague. Once they come to life and are given shape, they get a life of their own and become exceptionally wonderful. Most start as dreams, but actually, if you come to think of it, very few actually become reality. Why is that so? Many ideas die because the surrounding world didn't give them a chance to survive. But the ones that happen, they do because someone gave them a chance to happen. Besides the creator and the ideator who came up with the idea, someone believed they would work and helped to incubate them. They had idea managers who worked towards making them happen. I have witnessed some of this myself in my last 30 years. Quartz watches and Titan, bright colored, loose fitting formal wear and Allen Solly, mobile phones and Max Touch. Max Touch was an earlier avatar of what you know today as Vodafone. All these ideas seemed impossible when these clients first briefed us way back in the 1980s and 90s. Titan actually had a baseline in the late 80s saying, changing the face of time. Quite prophetic, isn't it? Today, Titan defines watches. But how many of you in this room would believe that when actually Titan came into this market in the late 80s, early 90s, with quartz watches, fragile looking watches, people said, fellows will buy it. I remember when Allen Solly first briefed us, okay, the CEO actually told us, this is formal wear for advertising guys like you, the fringe element. This, I'm talking about 1993. And when the CEO of Max Touch actually said, why can't there be more mobile phones than landlines? Why can't, because mobile phones are owned by individuals and landlines are owned by families, it seemed both rational yet irrational. Dismissing ideas is very, very easy. Identifying them and backing them to grow and become real is actually very, very difficult. We have moved over the last 50 years from an agricultural economy to a manufacturing, to a service, to knowledge, and today we live in an idea world. In today's business world, ideas and creativity give business their competitive edge, especially as products and services get commoditized. I've been in the creative business for over 30 years. And I have been a recipient of ideas every single day. I have learned how ideas happen and what it takes to make them bloom. In the next 15 minutes, I will share with you my experience and learning about the same. I've been a planner and I haven't been a business head in the advertising agency. I have not been a creative person. My job has been about working with creative minds, the ideators, to stimulate them, to nurture, grow their ideas, and to sell their ideas. This has provided me some insight about how to manage ideas. Now, we are all familiar with Edward de Bono, who says that there is creativity within every single one of us, waiting to be unbottled. Much of it is bottled up because of social upbringing. We are conditioned to be logical and follow norms, things that don't allow us to actually think fresh, think new, think ideas. However, in my experience, I've learned that just as in many subjects like arts, engineering, medicine, creativity, the ability to come up with lateral connections and come up with new ideas, is a skill that exists actually in a very few people. It is a core competence of a few and not so core of every one of us. So for ideas to thrive in an ideas economy, the art of creativity or ideas management is as important as actually coming up with new ideas all the time. And for this, it is about sensitizing ourselves about how to stimulate, encourage, grow, and nurture ideas, and not just generate ideas. It's about approaching ideas and creativity with a different mindset, a mindset different from how we are brought up. This involves understanding how ideas happen, how ideators behave, and then tailoring our response and our reactions to ideas in a constructive way. Let me first talk about ideas by themselves. The first thing for all of us to remember is no idea comes out complete and ready to run. Think of the biggest idea of all time, an idea that happens every day, perhaps every minute or every second in the world. Babies. They are a product of father and mother. No baby comes out perfect. They come out fragile, but over a period of time, with nurturance and guidance, grow up to become strong adults. Not surprisingly, ideators, creative thinkers, defend their ideas passionately. Does any mother think her kid as anything less than the best? How easy is it for a mother to actually take criticism of her child? Ideas come out as little sparks, seeking the flourish to make them into a fire. I have, as mentioned in my introduction, I am a writer. I write articles, I write short stories. Every time I write a piece, I start somewhere, I go somewhere else, and I finish somewhere else. Very often what I start with completely disappears. That's how actually ideas evolve. Second, let's understand creative minds, the ideators. Creative egos doesn't take kindly to criticism. The idiosyncratic creative mind operates like a territorial dog, and so is fiercely protective of its territory. Their dogged defense of their idea comes from passion, a determination to see it out in the purest form and have full ownership of it. They need to be like that to protect their ideas. Remember, a donkey is a horse created by a committee. Looks the same, but slothful, ugly, and a beast of burden. So creative people resist any tinkering with their ideas with the fear that their race horses will become donkeys. The other bit to understand about creative people is that they are inherently insecure, because often they cannot explain their ideas rationally. And as ideas evolve like babies, as I mentioned, they are actually seeking help when they come up with ideas, not criticisms. The world is filled with critiques. Think of it. A movie maker takes months, years to make a film. A reviewer in one column, half a column, can demolish it. Simple, easy. And this puts fear into creative people. So creative people become very, very resistant to hear any feedback on their ideas, just as mothers are hesitant to hear criticisms or questioning about their babies. Okay, I realized this also when I started writing many years ago. I too am hesitant to hear criticism. I often find whatever I write as word perfect. I remember one of the first pieces I ever wrote. I actually shared it with a creative director of mine. He took it, he pulled out a red pen like a school teacher, and vicariously getting pleasure, gave me punishing feedback. He corrected almost every second sentence in the piece that I gave him. I was hurt. Then I went and got the piece published the way it was, because the publisher didn't ask all those questions. Even though deep down, I agreed with many of the feedback that that creative guy gave. So we need to appreciate that in this idea economy, ideas are very easy to be killed, very difficult to be identified, nurtured, grown, and seen to fruition. We need to understand that ideas are fragile when they come. We need to understand ideators at one level look dogged, at one level seem defensive, but actually deep down are insecure and are actually seeking help for their idea, to help to grow their ideas. So in this context, how do we manage creativity and ideas in this kind of environment? And I have 6 learnings to share with you. The first is always look at ideas shared as stimulus rather than solutions. As already mentioned to you, most ideators and creative minds can't articulate what's working in their mind, in their ideas. So managers who can identify them and get them to craft it right are as valuable as those creating the ideas. Look at ideas as stimulus and help to grow them. Second, enjoy before you evaluate. From childhood, we are told what is right and what is wrong. So when it comes to a position of evaluation, there is a natural tendency to get comfortable with saying yes or no, and even more being critical. We need to remember no idea is born perfect. The biggest idea created by God, man, starts as a fragile baby. Remember that. Perfection is imbued to it by people's minds over time. Enjoyment gives you the advantage of forcing you to look for the merits in an idea, the merits in the most wild and dramatic ideas. Once you like something, you will find some way of making it work. I remember an idea of setting up a spacecraft for a futuristic consumer durable brand, evolved to make the retail space look like a spacecraft. We had an idea about actually for this consumer durable brand, saying, let's put up a spacecraft in its name. Seems impossible, seems wild. But once you like it, we actually tailored it down to saying, why can't we make the retail space look like a spacecraft? We had an idea for tea. How do we make it addictive? So the idea came of saying, let's put hash into it, drugs into it, illegal. Then it came down to, let's put alcohol. In some markets, alcoholic teas are all right. Now suddenly, a wild idea is becoming more practical. And then you say, make it flavored teas. So wild and dramatic ideas, if they are liked by you, you will find some ways to make them happen. So the second is enjoy before you evaluate. The third, it's very much linked to the second, but react from the heart rather than the mind. Good ideas tend to feel right from the heart before they become acceptable to the mind. Malcolm Gladwell's principle of blink to me works very well here. If the heart says there is potential, it's then the challenge to our mind to say how to make it happen. Remember, a good idea is often one man's dream made feasible by the discipline of many professional minds. Fourth, don't see yourself as a judge, but as a co-creator of ideas. The reactions to ideas should not be the problem is, but to see what's interesting about it. As a co-creator, the purpose is to develop the idea, grow it, nurture it, and see where it can go, rather than just being a critique. Joint ownership ensures a mindset shift. Take the word away of judge, put the word into your mind of saying, I am a co-creator. Fifth, indulge egos rather than fight them. Great idea managers are those who are able to fuel creative minds by massaging the ego for the larger good of getting a great idea. Creative minds tend to be dogmatic and often cannot be fought on pure logic. Indulgence encourages them to grow and develop their own idea. The greatest joy of a great idea manager is when his ideator partner comes back the next day and plays back the idea manager's idea as his own, better crafted and developed. Seek recognition for the idea, not yourself. Let the ideator bask in its glory. And finally, abandon the not invented here syndrome. Idea management is about collaboration and not about competition. It's about building on individual strengths and complementing each other rather than trying to outdo each other. To reject something because somebody else has thought about it and try to outdo it isn't the most productive way of getting great ideas. This often does happen because, as Edward de Bono says, that we all have creativity within ourselves. So when somebody comes up with an idea, our natural instinct, one of competitive spirit and of our own creative spirit, is to try and outdo that. Beware of this. Sometimes it's worthwhile going back to childhood. Think of it, I don't know how many of you did it, I did it as a child, that when you're in groups of children, you create stories among yourself, each kid picking up a trigger from the last one and building on it. Unconscious of where the last trigger came from. Ideas grow from such interactions. Great ideas are about teamwork. As already said earlier, they are one man's dream made possible by the discipline of many other professionals around him. I want to leave behind a thought of a football formation. Forwards are the ones who score the goals. They are the true ideators. They are the creative minds. Many of us are the midfielders. Our job is to provide the passes and create the openings for the creative minds to score their goal. The forwards and the ideators will get all the glory. But within their hearts, they will know that it is those idea managers, the midfielders, who help them to score the goals and are both dependent and thankful to them. If we want to make more ideas happen to make a difference to the world, we need to change our mindsets and approach to ideas created by others. It's something really worth for all of us to think about as we go out, many of you youngsters go out into the world and deal with the few creative minds and ideators around you about saying how to manage their ideas. Thank you. That's what I wanted to share with you.